Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be building... Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be doing episode number 32 of I Build Your Teams, the series where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited and or competitive play based on how much MT they have, what their squad is currently looking like, and things like that. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 5,000 subscriber mark on the channel. Just hit 4K earlier this week, and I really do appreciate all the recent support on the videos. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop right into it. Let's start off with the first team today, which comes in from my boy Andrew. He's got 83,000 MT on Xbox Next Gen, and he's got a solid core to his team. The problem with this team is there's not a lot of, I feel like, really consistent order with the way that your team is set up. We got a 13-man lineup, and some of these cards on your bench are just not cards that I personally would be running. But you have Wade and Cade, which is a solid point guard duo. Vince is definitely a very solid card. I would sell Tracy McGrady. I would 100% sell this card. That's the first thing I would do. Also sell Pete Maravich. Both of those guys definitely are cards that I would personally look to get out of the lineup and just make your MT from. And then at that point, I think you look to build yourself a basic 10-man rotation. You keep Cade and Wade as your two PGs. Vince Carter can start at shooting guard, and then you bring a guy like RJ Barrett off the bench at the shooting guard position. Then at the threes, I think you could go who's a top budget three? Jonathan Isaac at the starting three, and maybe Billy Owens off the bench at the three. Then I think you move D-Rob to the 5, Ralph Sampson to the backup 5. Weber can still be your backup 4, and look to pick up somebody to start at that power forward position. I'm not entirely sure where you'd go at the power forward position in terms of price right now. Maybe a guy like Thon Maker if he's reasonably priced. I'm not entirely sure how expensive he is, but that's kind of the direction that I'd be going with this team, is building a team something like Wade, Vince, John Isaac, Thon Maker, and D-Rob with Cade off the bench. RJ Barrett, Billy Owens, Weber, and Ralph. I think that's a much better squad at that point. Much more well-rounded team, I think. That'll give you a really, really solid 10-man with a lot of success. Next squad today comes in from Scary. He's got 400K on current gen. D-Wade is fine. Kazi, John. Honestly, your starting lineup is very good. Bench is solid as well. What I will say is, I mean, you're clearly a solid player because you do already have Bob, but Trae Young is not the guy at the backup point guard position. You don't have a single big point guard in your lineup, and that's okay, but I definitely would at least target Josh Giddey. I think temporarily you could even go after a guy like Cade Cunningham, or Zach LaVine. One of those two guys. Cade's going to be the cheap option. LaVine's going to be the better option, but also more expensive. But I definitely do think you're going to want to have a tall point guard in your lineup, whether that means targeting Josh Giddey or picking up a Cade or LaVine, somebody like that. And then also, I think you could also potentially look to pick up a guy like Thon Maker. Thon can play the backup 4 for you. You move James Worthy to the backup 3. I think that gives you a little bit more in your lineup in terms of offensive capabilities as well, and just a little bit more size. And honestly, that's about it with this squad. This is a very solid squad. Definitely don't want to spend too much MT and waste your ability to improve your team in the future, but definitely would look for a backup point guard and picking up a guy like Thon Maker at the backup power forward position, for me personally anyway. Next squad today comes in from DJ Givenchy. He's got 800K, which is a lot of MT. He's got MJ, Giannis, KD, Bob, and Kareem. I mean, that's arguably the best starting lineup in the game. It's really, really good team, obviously. Cade, Cedric, LeBron, John Isaac, and KP. Just a very, very good team all the way around. One thing that I might consider with this type of squad would be selling Cade and upgrading him to LaVine. You have the MT to do so, and LaVine is definitely going to be that upgrade over Cade, but Cade is not a bad card at all if you have one with a bunch of extra hoffs as well. Definitely still a card you could run. For me personally, I would also consider selling LeBron, moving Jonathan Isaac to the 3, and picking up Blake Griffin at the 4. I think you actually start Blake at the 4 and bring Bob off the bench. That's just my personal opinion. Those are the two upgrades I'd make, though. Pick up LaVine, pick up Blake, and run LaVine at the backup 1, Blake at the starting 4, Bob at the backup 4, and John Isaac at the backup 3. Sell that LeBron, and you're going to have an absolutely incredible team. It's just how I would go about customizing the team just a little bit. Next squad today comes in from Kabir. He's got 3.6 mil MT, which is just a ton, but he's not looking to spend a ton of that MT. And for me personally, I see what you're saying. You do have a solid budget squad built for sure, but I think you could be benefited by spending a little bit of MT to upgrade your backup point guard position and your center positions. Everything else about this squad I really do like. You also have MJ, but I think upgrading that center position and upgrading your backup point guard position is a big place that you can go with your team. Backup PG, if you're on next gen, I think you bite the bullet and you buy Luka. If you're on current gen, you could go a cheaper option like a Dwayne Wade or a Cade Cunningham, or go Zach LaVine. A few different options there depending on how much MT you're trying to spend, but I definitely would upgrade that backup point guard position and on next gen specifically. It's 100% worth it to get Luka. On current, would just go LaVine if you want the top type guy, or Cade or Wade at that backup point guard position. At the center position, that's where I would focus the majority of my efforts with a squad like this. And honestly, with 3.6 mil MT, I know you're not trying to spend a ton of MT, but I think you buy one of the top centers in the game. You either get one of Kareem or Kareem or KP. And I'm talking dark matter KP, not paying diamond KP. You get one of those two guys to start at the center position, depending on who you think you'd prefer, and then you pick up David Robinson to be your backup center. Those two guys are going to hold it down for you at a very high level. You're really going to notice improved play out of your center position if you pick up, for example, dark matter Kareem and Opal D-Rob, and then you pick up a backup point guard as well. And after that, you're going to be having a squad that can really compete at any level and still have a lot of MT left to build your squad in the future. Next squad today comes in from 41, 500K on current gen. He's got Wade and Levine, Mullen, Kazi, John Isaac, Ben Wallace, Thon Maker, Bulbul, Kareem, and Hakeem. Definitely another very, very solid squad. Honestly, again, I think your backup center position is probably your weakest position on the team. If you're a huge Hakeem fan, which some people love Hakeem, definitely don't think it's bad for you to continue running Hakeem. If you're not, like me, because I'm not the biggest Hakeem fan, I think you go the route of D-Rob. He's not going to cost you a significant amount more than Hakeem, although I know you did probably lock in Hakeem for Mullen. That's the one thing I will say. So if you want to keep running Hakeem, I do understand. Might also consider, I don't know, Kazi Russell's very good, but I think Jimmy Butler's arguably the best shooting guard in the game on current gen. I know he's expensive, but maybe you wait a couple days, pick up Jimmy and start him at the 2 with Mullen off the bench. Maybe consider something like that. But this is the type of squad that doesn't really need a lot of upgrades. The backup center and power forward position are probably your weakest positions, but if you're a big fan of Hakeem and you already have him locked in, nothing wrong with keeping him there. You could also pick up D-Rob if you want. And then the backup power forward position, I'm not really sure, because I don't know, if you keep your team the same, you can go get a Chris Bosh or a Blake Griffin. But if you don't keep your team the same and you pick up a guy at the point guard position or a shooting guard or something like that, maybe you don't have that MT. So it kind of depends on what position you want to target personally. For me, it'd be backup center with D-Rob and then picking up a Blake Griffin to start at the 4 and Thon Maker off the bench. That's just my personal opinion. Definitely up to you though. Next squad today comes in from Kevin. He's got 900 KMT and he's got a good basis to a squad for sure. Josh Giddey, Vince, AD, Thon, and Kareem is a great starting lineup. Brad Beal, Billy Owens, John Isaac, D-Rob, and Dikembe off the bench as well. Really, your only weak spot is the backup point guard position. And I'm going to say this, if you're on current gen, I'm not even sure it's worth spending all your MT. I don't know. You could spend all your MT and get MJ. MJ's the best card in the game. He's the best point guard in current gen. He's an absolute god. If you are on next gen though, 100% go get Luka Doncic. Play him at the starting point guard position. Josh Giddey off the bench. He's not nearly as expensive as MJ, and he is an absolute god for sure. So definitely would go that route if you're on next gen. On current gen, I don't know if you want to spend all your MT on MJ. That's up to you. If you do, go for it, have fun. If not, go Zach LaVine. You're still going to have 600,000 MT left. So either way, you're going to be sitting pretty. But really, that point guard position is the only position on your squad that needs upgrading. Next team today comes in from Sean. He's got about 1 mil and plays on both gens. Luka, Cade, Melo, Chris Mullen, KD, Zion, Bosh, James Worthy, Artist, and KP. Honestly, this is another squad that doesn't really need significant upgrades. I think you have 2 elite centers. You have 2 solid point guards. Melo and Mullen is great. KD and Zion is super solid. Bosh as well. For me personally, I do think it might be worth selling Zion though, because I think it's going to give you more size if you slide Worthy to the 3. You move Bosh to the backup 4 and you pick up Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is the best power forward in the game. He's an absolute god. So that is one player that I definitely would try to find a spot for in your team, is picking up Blake, starting him at the 4, Bosh at the backup 4, and Worthy at the backup 3. And once you sell Zion, it's really going to be close to an MT swap anyways. Like, you're not going to lose MT, and I think it's going to result in an upgrade to your squad. The one other thing you could potentially consider, and I mentioned it with the last team as well, is picking up Michael Jordan. He's the best point guard in the game on current gen and arguably the best on next gen. He's the best card in the game on current gen and still arguably the best on next gen. Like, he is absolutely incredible. Obviously very expensive, but you will not regret picking up MJ if you did decide to go that route as well. Just wouldn't really have a lot of MT left, so that kind of decision is up to you. But final squad today comes in from Diego. He's got 600K. He's grinding for Josh Giddey, Cade and Lonzo, Terry, Cedric Maxwell, Thon Maker, John Isaac, Blake Griffin, D-Rob, KP, and Dikembe. This is really another team that is very, very well built, just missing point guards. And Cade is a very, very solid option for sure. The one card, again, that I'm going to recommend upgrading is your backup point guard. Lonzo is just a little bit outdated. I know this is the free Lonzo who you do get from opening that box topper a while ago, but I just think with his release being on normal, he's just not quite it anymore. So for me personally, I'd move Cade to the bench, and I would pick up Zach LaVine. One other thing you can't consider, because you said you're grinding for Giddey, is you can can just play Giddy at point guard. Have Giddy and Cade as your PGs, which is totally fine. One other thing I might consider, though, if I were you, would be picking up Jimmy Butler instead of Terry Dishinger. I do think Jimmy is the best shooting guard in the game on current gen, and I really do think he's going to give you absolutely incredible on-ball defensive ability, as well as secondary ball handling and elite jump shot, things like that. So for me personally, I would buy Jimmy Butler, and then you could play Giddy and Cade as your point guards. You could also go Levine if you do want more of an offensive point guard, though. So that is my opinion with this squad. Another really well-built team. We had a lot of really good teams in today's video, so hopefully y'all did enjoy the video. If I wasn't able to get to your team in today's episode, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description below. Be on the lookout for a tweet about this series on Friday nights, and make sure you drop your team as early as possible to respond to that tweet, because the earlier the better. I typically record this video relatively early, or I guess late on Friday nights. As y'all can see, I'm recording this still on Friday night at 11:50. So yeah, that's how you can be involved in the future episode if you want to be. But also, if you do enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back with more 2K content very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.